Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Houston Strong from the TradingEdge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook video for August the 5th to the 9th, 2019. And I'm coming to you this week from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Hope you're enjoying your summer. It's a hot one down here. Also, apologies for the audio. I brought down my microphone this week, but unfortunately having a bit of AV issues with it, and it's not working, so I'm resorting to using some old school headphones to record this particular video. So apologies for the audio ahead of time. This will be also a shorter and briefer video than usual, as again I am on quote-unquote vacation, but I do want to spend a bit of time to share some of my thoughts, because it was quite the tumultuous week this past week, and I hope that some of the alerts that I gave last weekend as well as intra-week this week help some of you guys navigate some of the volatility we saw this past week. So with that being said, let's launch right into the charts. We'll talk about the week that was, the week that's coming up, and more importantly, I hope these videos help you guys just get the macro around how I do the weekly review process. I think it's serves you well ultimately to be able to do this same process for yourself or on your own basket of stocks that you watch. And obviously, I'm here to help shortcut some of that review process for you by doing some of the major legwork, some of the bigger legwork for you, so you can focus on your universe or your basket of stocks that you're focusing on. So let's jump into the charts now, and let's see where we came from and what to expect for the coming week. So let's begin with our friend VIX. So as we noted this, last week, and then last week's weekly market outlook video, that the 7-week trend that we had seen, where we had 7 consecutive lower lows, had finally been interrupted last week, right? And we had zoomed into this, weekly chart here, and I said, all right, they finally took out this, they finally took out that low. If they take out that low, they were coming back through the range. And that's exactly what's starting to happen here, is that this week here we finally took out the prior week's low, and man, did they ever start to buy the VIX back. So right now, what you want to be watching for is the following. So right away from the get-go on Monday, they bought it, kind of an unremarkable day. But the thing that you got to notice here with the VIX this particular week was that right from the get-go, you were trading above the weekly open, right? Look at the previous weeks, right? So that previous week, you traded below the weekly open the whole week. Here, right from the get-go, you're trading above the weekly open. So you're going to see now, can it continue to stay above that weekly open on the daily time frame? And in fact, it did, right? So it stayed above the weekly time frame, okay? And then on Wednesday, FOMC, it popped up big, right? And that's when it took out the prior week's highs. That's when the momentum to the downside finally got interrupted. Then we got that new month on Thursday. This is what I said was going to be significant. That last week was significant because we had 3 major factors. Apple earnings, in my opinion, was significant. It's a down mover as well as a mover of the Nasdaq and the SPYs. You had number 2, FOMC, which was a very important one. A lot of eyes on it. And number 3, you had the new month coming intra-week on Thursday. And so that's what we saw here on Thursday. The sellers had the chance to take it back down again. They did not, right? So the VIX bar stepped back up. They looked like it was going to be an inside day for a few hours, but nope, they just continued to push it, and we had an outside up and up situation now on the daily chart. Now getting a little bit extended doesn't mean it can't go a lot further, but if the lows, Friday's lows get taken out here, then the momentum to the upside has been temporarily interrupted. Doesn't mean we're going to sink it back down again. You want to continue to watch how we trade around this quarterly open, because right now what's significant with the VIX as well as the other indices is that we're trading, for the VIX particularly, above this quarterly open, but the indices are all trading below. So in many cases we have full time frame alignment now to the upside on the VIX and to the downside on the indices. We haven't seen this in a while. Okay, so that's what's notable. So on the monthly chart, here's what you want to be looking for now. Here's what we're waiting for: inside bar and down in July, right? But now look what happened. It took out July's highs, inside bar reversal. Now the pivot high that they're going after is June's highs. That is very, very reasonable now if the fixed buyers continue to step up, unless there's some sort of macro or policy issues that come up. By the way, I did forget to mention, this week is a big earnings week. It's probably the story's earnings. So Tuesday we have Disney. I think Wednesday we have so Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday we have Roku and a number of tech names. So definitely going to be a market moving week. Definitely keep your eye out on earnings. Now let's take a look at SPY, which will be the counterpoint as usual to the VIX chart. So the SPY, notable is this, right? On the monthly chart, comes up here, outside and up, and now back to the downside. This is what you do not want to see if you're a buyer, because here was the battleground. Outside bar down, now outside bar up. The momentum guys, the buyers, had it for basically a month, but they didn't do anything with that opportunity, right? So now what's happening here now is you have an issue where this low's been taken out now, and finally they're going to start to come back through the range. How far back is anyone's guess, but if you're the sellers can keep it up, you can take out this pivot low here in June. That would be the outside bar to go after, because outside bars are terrible places to put stops. So if they get down to this range here, they're going for that low there. You'll see what I mean when we talk about EEM. So SPY outside up, back down. This is the issue, coming back to the range. Remember, VIX inside bar reversal. Here's what it looks like on the weekly. As I said last week's video, right? Continue to watch these lows. Once they get taken out, then the momentum has been interrupted. And boy, did they ever. This week, SPY suffered a 3% pullback. So, at the end of the day, we still, SPY, before I go there, let's finish this. We have a reversal now. It's coming back to the range. We have now full time frame alignment back to the downside. If you take a look at this wider formation, big broadening formation here, it popped above. The issue now is that it's coming back in again. How far back in is anyone's guess? So that's the situation. Outside bar up, 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 up. Finally, momentum's been interrupted this past week. Now we come back to the range. So the SPY, this is what was notable for the week, right? So very, very nice setup on the short side, if you were to play it that way. On the 2-day chart, very straightforward signal. Inside bar and up, and then they took out that low in the beginning of the week. So that week was red right away when that low got taken out, and they sold it off. On the daily chart, the momentum really kicked in though on Wednesday. So here on Monday, Tuesday, Monday was simply an inside day. It looked like from last week was a continuation till this day broke down, and they did an inside bar reversal. People thought it was going to be an okay situation because the day was still green. The problem is that you left these guys who bought this breakout stranded, because anyone who bought this and were looking for the break to the upside, this move, a gap down, right, effectively trapped these guys. This is not a bullish scenario by any means. This is actually a very, very dangerous scenario. Okay, so then we had the outside bar down and down to end the week. So momentum move here because people got trapped in there. Once they bought to the upside, once it came back to the range here on Wednesday, this puts this low at risk, and then we have the strong move to the downside, creating that outside bar and down scenario. So very, very strong momentum move now for the sellers. On to the Qs. Q. So for the Qs, we have a situation now. We have a red month, and we took up the prior month's low. So this is a potentially very bearish scenario because now you have the potential for it to come back through the range. On the actual weekly chart, just a red week, so nothing too peculiar there. But on the daily, we have momentum here, right? So there's the outside bar and down situation, so that's momentum. So if you're a buyer, if you're looking for this as a buyable pullback, what you're going to be looking for is, number one, you want to see this momentum to the downside subside, okay? So that means a high has to get taken out, meaning this high here, or whichever bar that we see, the high needs to be taken out or crested before it can come back up again. On the weekly side, in order for the reversal to be of larger significance, a prior week's high has to be taken out. So what's the chance of next week taking out last week's high? We had a 4% down move here. Not impossible. We could have a 5% move next week to the upside, but again, is that very probable? So the question now is how to get back up above this bar's high. It may not happen next week. It may have to come back in a bit now. This is where that reversal could happen to pull things back a bit. But on the bigger, the big picture, again, if you look at it this way, right? We look at, let's say, the 3-month chart. The Qs are having a great year still. So that's your Q1, Q2, Q3, okay? So right now you're still having a great year for the Qs. So even this can be a red quarter, even if it takes it back, all the way down here, in this area, the Qs on the 12-month chart look like this, right? That's a massive year. You're up 21% still. So yes, unfortunately, if you bought up here, you know, you can expect a pullback. We can't expect it, but you know, it's not unreasonable to have to sit through a pullback because, as I've said in some of my newsletters, you know, the history of the stock market is that in any given year, it's not uncommon to have 10% pullbacks. That's part of the game. So this could be one of those 10% plus pullbacks. Now, when it gets up to 20% and that stuff, that's when people start to get scared, and then you start to see a lot of fear out there, which causes maybe prolonged selling or perhaps irrational selling. But for now, you know, we're talking about a run-of-the-mill pullback. Let's keep watching it. On the Russell now, let's take a look at the Russell. Okay, Russell issued this. Russell said this is given nothing but head fakes the past few months, and it's trapped more people here. Inside of the month, it went up, right? So inside bar to the upside, that looked like a breakout. That's going to take out May's highs. Unfortunately, now this past week, it did an inside bar reversal. So that was the inside bar break to the upside. It took out last month's lows right there this past week, and now you got the inside bar reversal on the month. This means it's coming after now June's lows. June's lows are in play. On the weekly chart, you have this week, these 2 weeks now of outside bars, chopping up a lot of traders here. A lot of people are getting hurt in this situation because the Russell does what it's been doing best, and that is to trick people. So as a SPY, if you recall, the SPY was getting weak, the Russell was getting stronger. This is how they always lure people in, right? So on the Russell here, this week, it went outside bar and up. Inside, outside, up. But as soon as it comes back into here again, it's a red flag. And finally, it takes out that low. Once it takes out that low, it's over. It's going to come through here, and then it takes out all the pivots to the downside. So anyone who got long starting, you know, July 22, they're underwater now, or they're sitting on losses. Okay, and this is how they really got them here. So if you take a look at the 4-hour chart and the 2-day charts, it's pretty aggressive. It's inside bar, then outside bar to the upside, followed by a down bar. So that means they trap everyone who's up here by pushing it down like that. But on the 4-hour chart, this is what it looks like. This is really nice trading if you're trading the Russell, because it's very readable, right? So this blue line here signifies the monthly bar where it breaks out. Okay, so we had this, looks like what's going to be a break to the upside, because this is an inside bar here. So here's how they trap them. I'm going to draw the line. There's your inside bar break to the upside. Okay, now on the 4-hour chart, this is what it looks like here, this sequence. So I'm actually going to only delete this bar for now. We don't need that line. It goes outside bar and up. That triggers the momentum to the upside, and all the FOMO traders come in to push the Russell higher. Once you know when the FOMO runs out, you know when the buying pressure runs out, right there. So as soon as this one comes back in and takes out this low, because it's an outside bar and up scenario, the momentum runs out, right? And once momentum runs out, this happens. Bam. So anyone who bought late, bought all the way down to July 22nd, right? We said that earlier here. They sat on losses. Okay, July 22nd, excuse me. Okay, so let's talk about Dow now, which had also a rough week. Dow down about, what does it say, 2.63% for the week. Dow for the month of August, starting off red right away, and here's a scenario we had earlier of some of the other indices. Outside bar and up, and then coming back down through the range here. So outside up, coming through the range to the downside. Here on the weekly, what we have now is, and as we said last week in our charts, is that last week it took out the previous week's lows. This is why we're always watching the prior week's lows to see if they can get taken out. Because before that we had 6 consecutive weeks of higher highs. Last week it took out that prior week's lows. It looked insignificant, right? This is why you can't tell by one single week, because that move here looked insignificant. But now, in retrospect, this is actually a transition point that caused this move here, a minus 2.6% week. So that was a transition. Okay. Now this week here, once you transitioned, now we have an outside bar down and down. So momentum to the downside. Sellers have control until, what do you know now? Until a prior high gets taken out. Continue to watch prior highs if you want to see when the momentum begins to fade. TSX, you want to guess, did it end up red? Yes, it did. Because TSX has just been in a really, really tight situation here. Very, very tight stuff. So if you look at TSX here on the quarterly chart, it's very tight trading. It's currently sitting as an inside quarter. Okay, so very, very tight stuff. How can you see that? Well, if you look at the monthly, it looks like this. These past 3 months, right? Even though you have a pop outside of that month's high, it's all sitting inside of this month's range, inside quarter. So very, very tight trading stuff. Okay, so here the issue was knowing that buying breakouts in very, very tight range bound markets usually fail, and that's what happened here. These guys here 2 weeks ago, it went inside bar and up. Okay, so they tried to buy the breakout, it failed. Once this low gets taken out, it's an inside bar reversal. You've heard me talk about this dozens of times now. It means it's getting reversed on. They reverse that, they take out that pivot low, that one, that one, that one. Right? Not quite enough for that one, but everyone who got involved from the June 24th and on has been stopped out on that move. So TSX, very, very, kind of ugly summer trading, to be honest. Just not nice trading. Not a lot going on there other than that now the selling's kicked in with a bit of more aggression. As you can see here, right there. Okay. Once you understand the nature of outside bars and inside bars, then you see outside bar up, right? They have the buyers here, right? This is the weekly breakout level we talked about. They try to buy the breakout, right? Here's the breakout level. But once that low gets taken out, that means the momentum has subsided. And that's what happened right here. Then it's gone four consecutive 2-day sessions now. We've had selling. Everyone here got stopped out. Let's look at emerging markets. Once again, turning into submerging markets. So as you know, I've been short emerging markets for a while now. And to be honest, I could have definitely timed my entry better because I didn't need to sit through all that. But for me, it's kind of a hedge. So it didn't bother me that much. But there's certainly a better time to get filled on that trade, and I'll show you exactly where. So this trade now, I'm actually flat now. This trade, I took my profits. It could go lower, but I'm on vacation. Didn't want to have to babysit this trade while I'm on vacation, so I took my profits and I'm out of it. Here, I got initial even better confirmation now because here inside month, right on EM, it popped up back in July, but once it broke below July's low there, right, that's an inside bar reversal. We talked about it many times this video already. And that pivot low to get taken out would be that low here. Now they're going after that low there. I took the trade on the inside on the weekly chart, inside bar reversal on the weekly, right? So inside bar, up, reversal right there, back down to the weekly, taking out that outside bar low. Terrible place to put your stops because that's a very chewy, tasty target. Okay, so where the better fill was on this trade, now you know the breakout level, right? So this here, this blue line, is the inside bar reversal level, right? So it goes inside bar and up. Once that low gets taken out, that's the inside bar reversal. So on the daily chart, here's a better entry. So you could have taken that entry here as soon as it broke down. It pops back up, and this is what I did. You get to sit through this stuff here. Or you could have waited here. Or you could have added. It's even a better option. You could have added outside bar, inside bar, and there is your breakdown, right? Very little heat, and that's a momentum trade right to the downside, getting your larger weekly targets and monthly targets. So that sequence there, inside, outside, inside, very, very nice sequence, right at that low, that level right there that we know of, right? So that level is important. If it consolidates right there, couldn't have asked for a better entry because you had a chance to get filled here right when that low breaks. This day here gives you the chance, as it pops up back above, to fill you and put on as much size as you want on that trade. Okay, so great trade on EM. Worked out. I am now flat on that trade. Let's move on to TLT because that's a trade that did not work out for me. I took my lumps and got out early, thankfully, because there's no reason to hold on to a loser, especially when you see things like outside bars coming into play because that means there's momentum. You do not want to get short squeezed on. So TLT now we're seeing is an outside bar on July on the monthly chart that goes outside bar and up. Okay, so there's your outside bar and up now scenario, momentum to the upside. On the weekly scenario here, here's why I got out. And I said it last week. If we crack above last week's highs, I'm going to be out as soon as possible. So outside bar and down, inside bar, it has to keep going because of the outside bar. If it doesn't keep going, that means the momentum has subsided, right? and that's exactly what happened the prior week. So this prior week, you know, not this past trading week, but the week prior to that, it did take out that high, but it actually closed back in the range again. So I gave it a bit of room. I was giving it the benefit of the doubt because it's still trading below the quarterly open. But this week, with all the news that's coming out and the FOMC and, you know, and the like, I was not going to take the chance of holding this thing, hoping that it was going to turn red again. As soon as it cracked above the prior week's high, I was out of there, because this, you saw what happened. It ran out of momentum, and now buyers stepped right back in, taking it back to, I think it's like 2016 highs. So yeah, it has to go back to to this level here, 2017 before 2016 before you cracked above these levels. So it's still going up now with momentum, right? So with momentum, you want to see that momentum subside with TLT on the monthly chart by seeing the low get taken out. Okay, so on TLT, a really, really nice setup on the 4-hour chart. I don't think you can get much nicer than that. There's a lot of them this week, so quite a nice volatile week for summer trading. That level that we talked about, that blue line, right? That is that outside bar here, that outside bar low. All right, so right there, right on Wednesday, and congratulations to Eric in my trading room for taking this trade and, you know, and getting into TLT on Wednesday afternoon after the Fed. Outside bar, inside bar, pow, there. This thing is gone, right? So this thing outside inside, it is gone now. Just measure that, right? So you take that outside inside trade, okay? This is like a plus maybe 13, 14 hour trade on a 4-hour chart. so very, very nice trade on TLT. Congrats to those folks who took that trade. On to UKOIL. UKOIL quite busy. We had quite the move this week because of tariff talks. But UKOIL looking like it's a bit broken now. So here with the situation that we got now is a red month, right, which took out the prior month's lows. This is now an inside-outside scenario, so momentum to the downside. At this point, we want to see now what the next bar is. Is it going to be an inside bar next week, or does it go momentum and go inside bar, outside bar and down, excuse me, and keep going further? Here we have the inside bar to watch on the daily chart. We want to see now how this inside bar breaks on that daily. Because on the 2-day, this happened right in the beginning of the week, they tried to go inside bar and up, and it worked a little bit, right? It broke above the quarterly open. I'll maximize that. It broke above the quarterly open here. It took out this outside bar, so there's your inside. That's why I love this pattern. Inside, outside, inside. You expecting this move to work, or to at least move. Did in fact move, took out all these highs. Problem is they came back in again, right? And once this low gets taken out, inside bar reversal, we'll just move this bar there, like this line there, like that. Once this bar low gets taken out, there's your inside bar reversal to the downside, and that's what kicked off the selling here. That's what the selling looks like on a 2-day chart. Okay, so on 2-day you got your inside bar reversal. Let's look at gold, because gold also had quite the wild week and a little bit tricky and choppy if you're a gold trader. Not the easiest stuff to trade right now. So inside month so far to start August, very, very early in the month. But look, just look at the weekly chart on gold for a second, right? Because look at the weekly chart. Inside and up, inside bar, and then it goes down before it goes up. You can't tell it here, but that was the sequence. It went down before it went up again. So they stopped out a bunch of folks when it broke down below the quarterly open, but the buyer stepped up and defended. So this low here was 1461. This low here is 1421. So it came close to taking out that bar's low. They didn't quite do it. And then the bar stepped up, defended the quarterly open, and popped back up again, causing the buyers who wanted to get involved to have to get back in and chase this thing. So now you have that outside bar on the weekly. Now what's the next bar, right? Outside bar up, in, or outside bar and down. That's what we want to wait for and see. But on the daily, it is choppy stuff. It's not easy trading by any means, because look at the number of outside bars here. Remember, each outside bar is a battleground in itself. Outside, 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 outside. There's a lot of chop going on here, and people getting, chicken for both ways. So tricky trading with the XAU. Sometimes you need to take a bit of step back here and let the price settle a bit before trying to get involved. So on the again the 2-day chart, it doesn't make it any easier. Like look at the number of outside bars here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all battlegrounds, and it's tricky trading. So wait for something more. I wait for something like the weekly to give you a cleaner signal, because this stuff here, is you can expect more of these outside bars, not less of them, until it breaks out of this range. So now let's take a look at digital gold, good old Bitcoin, and Bitcoin actually liking what the Fed had to say. Who knows? This, I'm not saying that the Bitcoin actually is affected by what the Fed's comments are, but it had a good week. So as we said last month, how does July not be an inside month? And it ended up being an inside month because June had a 6,000 point range. How did you get outside of June? July, you could not do it. So now this bar is smaller. It's an inside bar. This month here, you still have a lot of work to get outside of these edges, but it's a higher chance than last month. So right now in August, still inside month, but at least now you can see, there's the highs and the lows. They're easier to get at versus this past month. So with the weekly, Bitcoin starting off strong so far, inside week and up now on the Bitcoin chart, and things are going green, 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 green. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive green days in a row. The selling subsided right here on the 2-day chart, outside bar and down. This guy, once this high gets taken out, it goes back to the upside again because there's no more downward momentum. The longer term time frames are up. So at this point here, you get a green month. The month is green again, and you got a green week. And then with Wednesday the turnaround on Thursday, you now have a green week. So the only thing holding Bitcoin back right now is the quarterly open. This black line or kind of dark blue line, that's your quarterly open. Right now, it cannot crack above and stay above it. That's what you want to be watching out for, is this level right now that it's facing. So with this new week coming up very soon, that's what we want to be watching for. Let's look at total now. Okay, oh, wrong total. Let's look at total. Okay, total, just like Bitcoin, inside month last month, inside month so far for August. On the weekly chart, it goes inside bar and up so far, but you're still going to have to negotiate that quarterly open. How are you going to break above that? If it can't, you're going to do a bit of a dance here. I call it getting sandwiched between various opens, and it's going to get choppy trading here now. So watch out for that. If you see something like an inside bar reversal, it's going to come back down again through the range. So you got to watch out for that. Again, watch out for these highs and lows of the monthly that you get taken out. That will be a decisive move and a decisive these are decisive areas to be watching. Let's take a look now before we wrap things up at the FANG names, and then we'll call it a week. Let's look at the Facebook now, and Facebook and all the FANGs for that matter, not looking that strong. Facebook starting off the month of August red. It took out July's lows quite quickly for that matter, and now we're coming back to the range. So red month so far on Facebook. Here's the issue with Facebook. Outside bar and down on Facebook, right? So outside bar and down, momentum move now. When does the momentum stop to the downside? Okay, you want to continue to watch those highs and see how far it goes down. On the daily chart, we're talking about a momentum move to the downside. Here on Wednesday kicks things off, outside bar, down, down. You need to see a high get taken out before anything, any buying can really kick in and take shape. On the 2-day chart, you're also seeing a momentum move to the downside. So again, continue to watch the highs on Facebook before, and you need to see these highs get taken out before things can potentially reverse. You want to combine, the lower time frames and seeing the higher time frames, seeing that all of these moves, the weekly, the daily, and the 2-day, they're all predicated on the same exact setup. Outside bar and down, which is very interesting. Outside bar down here, starts this momentum move. Outside bar and down here, outside bar down there, right? So if these things begin to reverse, they will act like dominoes. But it's going to take some buying from the buyers in order to do that. Let's look now at Apple. Let's look at Apple next. Okay, Apple, inside month so far. And Apple had some really good earnings, quite surprising. Some people thought they were going to have a terrible quarter, but unfortunately gave back that huge gap that they had. They had a 4-5% gap, and I did make a video this past week about the great Apple short that was available on Wednesday, FOMC, and it was a fantastic short. And now Apple has given back that big gap that it had after earnings. So the week ends as an outside bar, right? There's your outside bar right there on the week. It was a very promising week. That doesn't mean things are going to just melt down, but if it goes outside bar and down and it keeps going down, then that is a momentum move to the downside. So we have to wait and see here at this point what the next bar is. But there's your gap up on Monday, right, on Apple. And unfortunately, you just could not hold it. So right from the get-go, go back to that video on Wednesday that I put out. You'll see the short that was available there. And unfortunately, Apple's come back in the range now. And if it can stay within July's range, then you're in good shape. But if these lows get taken out, July's lows get taken out, that puts unfortunately June's lows also in play. Okay, Amazon. Okay, Amazon, they've been melting since their earnings came out. So right now, August not looking any prettier. Took out July's low already, and it's pretty much been going down since here. Inside bar on the weekly and down, and second consecutive week to the downside now. Full time frame alignment to the downside, right below all the major time frames, monthly, quarterly, and weekly. On the down move, it started back here, earnings. Okay, so there's your earnings right here. Goes outside, inside, which resolves to the downside, and look, nothing but lower lows and lower highs. So it's been going on now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions. So that's not abating yet. Okay, so Amazon not looking great to start August. Now, two more names, Netflix and Google. So Netflix, again, earnings were not kind to these FANG names. Earnings right here on Netflix, inside bar and down, and the gap down. So right now, we had it's very choppy stuff here on Netflix, right? So here, look on the monthly chart, outside, and down, outside, and now inside. So very, very choppy monthly trading action. On a bigger time frame, this is quite interesting. Look at this situation on Netflix. Inside bar and up, and it goes inside bar reversal on them. So potentially now if the sellers can keep it up, they're going after that pivot low. January's low. So that means, Q1's pivot low. That's what they're going after now. So Netflix looking materially weak here. Not to say this stock is a broken stock necessarily, because look, if you actually look at the 12-month chart, it's not a bad looking chart. Look, the 12-month chart, it's just an inside year. So even if it comes all the way back in again, you're still inside the prior year's range. So not the end of the world for Amazon, for Netflix, but you do have to be aware that you may have to sit through a pullback if you're a long-term holder. And if you're a short-term person or trader, again, these down moves are potentially very, very profitable. So continue to watch that quarterly low as a very, very juicy target for Netflix. Final name on the FANGs anyways, Google. Google had earnings this week. Unfortunately, they're also beginning to give it up again. So inside month so far for Google, outside, inside to end the week. So it had a great week the prior week, inside week. So that's not the end of the world for Google, but it's giving back its earnings gap. So slowly giving back now. Now we have a momentum move. Outside bar and down. This next week, what happens? Does it go outside, inside, and down? If it does that, you're coming after that range there. Outside, inside, and up, then you're going to go after that pivot high back here. The previous earnings high there. Okay, so that's what we want to watch out for, this week's ranges. I'll give you one final name, just because we have earnings next week for Disney. It's going to be one of the major ones that people will be watching. And so Disney, starting the week here, inside the month, inside month, so very early month. Here's the issue for Disney right now, is that you have an inside-outside situation. I'm just going to clean this up a bit here. Let's go back to the quarterly. So I'm going to delete this line here. We don't need that. So far, green on the quarterly chart, on the monthly chart, red month so far, but inside month, so that's healthy. The weekly chart, here's our thing with Disney. We want to see what the next bar is. If it goes inside bar and down after earnings, then the situation is that you have momentum move to the downside and they can go after all these pivots here. Okay, or it goes inside bar and down, same scenario, maybe prior to earnings. If it pops up again, they're going to go after last week's high. So watch out for that. So if all of a sudden bulls step in and they step in across all the indices as well, you may have the initial reaction lower that may crack the low here, this past week's low. But as soon as it comes back into the range, there's possibility it comes back out through the other end and creates a second outside bar. Red outside bar, counter with a green outside bar. We've seen that a lot in some of these charts, especially around the gold charts. So look for that potential scenario. If it comes back, and if it goes down, it comes back up to the range, there's a possibility that it comes out the other side. Okay? or it goes outside inside, which I don't think it will do because it's earnings. And the last situation is outside down and then back up again, and they actually trap sellers down here and they push it right back up. So watch for those four major scenarios there with Disney. And again, I hope this review helps you. I'll be back in Montreal, not this week, but the following week, and hope to be back to you with our regularly scheduled weekly market outlook video with our usual audio in place. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Maybe a bit slower on my email because I'm out of town with a bit of spotty internet. But as usual, I hope you have a great trading session. Happy trading, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer.